Hello everybody, my name is Zool and welcome to Modding Dragon Age Origins Episode 1B. This is my video on how to install the full version of Dragon Age Origins Improved Atmosphere. Before we get started, I do need to mention a couple of things. Number one, all of my B episodes are kind of alternate versions of the main episode. They don't have the guarantees of compatibility, they don't have the guarantees of all the testing. Some of them might even be stops, so, for example, this episode. I would personally recommend that you follow this video and then maybe one or two other mods, but you can go ahead and just play the game after this. Like, you don't need any other mods, really, other than a couple that there are specific compatibility patches for, which I might cover in like episode 2B and kind of make an alternate pathway thing. I haven't decided on that yet. And I guess that leads me to number two. I think I already said compatibility issues, but compatibility issues. If you install the full version of Improved Atmosphere, the rest of my tutorials probably aren't going to work because this mod is very complicated. There's a lot to it. And disclaimer number three, this video is going to be kind of long because we are going to be covering Improved Atmosphere in very excruciating detail, and we're covering it in excruciating detail so you can make your own choices. It's a bit of an advanced video. So without further ado, let's get started. I've assumed you've already downloaded the Improved Atmosphere file that we found in the original video. I would also highly recommend you download the Icons project. I'll throw a link to that down below. This is an important file because this can fix some bugs that often occur in Improved Atmosphere. I forgot to cover it in episode 1. I'm going to mention it in episode 2 of the series. This is going to be the first mod we install, but if you happen to stumble across this video, we're going to do them both at the same time. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, we're going to extract Improved Atmosphere and open it up. It's going to look something like this. Okay, so now that we've gotten all that preamble out of the way, we're going to go ahead and actually take a look at the mod. Now again, this is going to take quite a while. We're going to be going through pretty much all these folders one by one, explaining what they do. I recommend pulling open this readme.pdf, following along, or reading through it yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Animations we know is good. There's nothing fancy needed to install the animations. That was part of the basic setup. Materials, however, has a couple of advanced things we need to do. If we open up Materials, we'll notice that there are two DA zips inside, so we're going to need to install these with DA Modder, which we did in the first episode. I'm going to uncheck official mods, check off third-party mods. This is kind of how I prefer to leave this. And then I'm going to drag the Awakening folder in here. Yes, I would like to install this. Okay, and the Origins folder right here. Yes. So now we have these installed, which are the Awakening and Origins versions of the new Materials add-on. The new Materials add-on basically adds a bunch of different tiers of items to the game. For example, it adds, I think, blue steel, white steel, just different tiers of items. There's a lot more of a gradient throughout the game, including if you get to higher levels. There's also a couple of folders here for DLC. Obviously, if you don't have or aren't using these DLCs, you can delete these, but I'm not going to be covering that. Finally, there is the optional subfolder. The optional subfolder is a little bit interesting because it allows you to kind of change things to like a different optional version of the materials. So Star Metal is changed to like one of the best materials in the game or something like that. I recommend checking out the README if you want this. I'm personally going to go ahead and delete it though. I like to leave things how they are. You can check out the README for more information on that. Tints just adds new tints to the game. We could have used this for the basic setup, to be honest, but I don't really like using tints with the basic setups. It can cause a little bit of compatibility issues as far as I'm aware from my research, so yeah. Basically, you can add the tints to the game. Now there's two folders. There's the custom subfolder. You can add new tints that don't replace any vanilla ones. That's these here. And then there's the replacers. These replace vanilla tints with other tints. And then there's, of course, these two files right here. They contain references to the tints from the custom or the other one. We're basically going to go ahead and keep all these tints, but just so you know what they are. Next up, items. If we check out items, we will notice that there is a lot of stuff in here, a lot of different subfolders. This explanation is going to be a little bit complicated, but basically we're going to leave everything as is. However, if you would like to revert a specific item to default, for example, we could make Duncan's Dagger the default instead of having the improved atmosphere version of it. You can go ahead and either delete that or better, go into the README. There is some documentation on how to rename things and how to make other armor mods compatible. We don't have any other armor mods for me to show you how to do this, but it involves renaming your favorite armor retexture to have the letter Z in front of it so that it loads after improved atmosphere, and also setting improved atmosphere to the default version of the item. Okay, now that we've covered the global settings, we can go over to the module settings. Now, most of these things can remain the same. This has to do with a lot of things changing the beginning areas, changing a lot of the characters, so like giving the guards different items, giving a bunch of NPCs unique clothing, making some of the nobles not look like they're wearing, poor person clothes. It is just an overall improvement to a bunch of different areas in the game, and the characters and the placeables and everything. We're going to basically leave this as is. I don't really see a need to change anything in here, although if you think there's a change you need to do, you can go ahead and do it. Now we can move over to the PC Origins. Again, I love all the changes to the Origins. The Dwarf Noble is given some really nice armor. The Human Noble's Origin has a bunch pretty much every Origin has a bunch of changes, including changes to the amount of money you start with, the items you get. It's just an overall improvement to the game, so we're going to keep that exactly how it is. Companions, I also like to leave these here. There's no reason to change anything. It also affects some of the approval. You can have problems with this if you're using other mods, but that's what the compatibility patches are for. The Awakening expansion folder, we're going to leave exactly how it is as well. No need to change that. When we go to the downloadable content folder, if you don't have one of these DLCs, you will need to delete it, although you should be using the complete edition of this game, so there's no need for that. And finally, we can look at the extras folder. Alright, the extras in Improved Atmosphere are where some of your interesting choices are going to be made, and we're going to start off by talking about the Modified Item Properties. Modified Item Properties gives unique items really powerful properties, and it also gives pretty much every item the appropriate material. If you find a wooden staff, it'll be made of wood, not steel. And the unique items in the game, except for maybe the stuff you get in your Origins, should now stand out enough to be useful for the entire game. This is going to make the game a lot easier. If you don't like this change, because the game's going to be a lot easier, then you're probably not going to want to use this module unless you also pair it with a difficulty mod, which we're not covering in this video, so maybe wait until a little bit later for that. This mod also changes the vendor prices, some crafting prices, and some other things like that. If you want to delete any of these things, you can just go ahead and delete the individual folders. If you don't like the crafting changes, go ahead and delete that. But I'm actually just going to leave this for now. Again, alternatively, you can just delete this entire folder and continue on from there. One important thing to note is if you do not have folder 1.4, if you remember in global we have items here, then you have to also delete the modified item properties, because otherwise the game will probably crash. The next folder, Awakening Quick Items, will add some of the things like stamina potions and explosives from Awakening to be available in Origins. I really like this change. Think it should have been included with the game. No reason for me to remove this. However, if you don't want that, if you want the experience to be a little bit more core, go ahead and delete 7.2. The optional campaign mods folder is a little bit spoilery, but essentially it changes some of the quests in the game. I like these changes personally, and I'm not going to go into too much details on them, but again, if you want a bit more of a vanilla experience, just delete this folder. Version 7.0 is called Bodies Stay. This is a mod that causes your victims' bodies to not fade away. You can loot the ogre without its body dissolving before your eyes. One of the big problems with this mod, or this aspect of the mod, is that the bodies will stay pretty much forever. So if you kill somebody in the streets of Orzammar and then you come back there 8 days later, those bodies will still be on the street. A little bit non-immersive in my opinion, so take it or leave it, I suppose. I'm gonna leave it for now, but I would honestly probably not use this if I was doing a full playthrough because it would annoy me after a while. The README does have a workaround on how to fix this, but I'm not going to cover that. Next up, VFX Remover. It removes the visual effects, when you have a fire weapon or an ice weapon or a spirit weapon, from the runes and the staffs and stuff like that. I honestly like those things, but you can leave this if you want. It's just a simple file and it can be removed. Finally, you have number 8, which is custom. This is where you're going to dump your compatibility files. We don't have any compatibility files right now, so we can leave that. So now what we need to do is install Improved Atmosphere. We've pretty much gone through everything, so we can go ahead and begin our job at navigating to our documents. And as we talked about in the previous video, you need to go to Documents, BioWare, Dragon Age, Packages, Core, Override. And I'm just going to drag and drop it into this Override folder right here. Looks like because I have the README open, it's not letting me move it, so I'll just close that, drag that over there, and we are good. I would also highly recommend you download the Icons project. I'll throw a link to it in the description. All you need to do is download it manually, and as you can see right here, it's actually in a zip format, so we can go ahead and install this with DA Modder. We'll just drag that onto there. It's going to ask us if we'd like to install the mod. Go ahead and hit OK. This mod replaces the icons for a bunch of equipment and inventory items. Improved Atmosphere has a bug where sometimes certain icons for like your staff or your shield or something will disappear. So we install this mod after we install Improved Atmosphere so that all the icons are there once again. Now that we have that, we have finally successfully installed the full version of Improved Atmosphere. Bit of a rambly long video, sorry if you didn't enjoy it, but for those of you who want a more detailed look at how to install the mod, you got it. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. This video might just be the end of the B series, or there might be more videos to come after this. Leave a comment if you'd like to see more of these kind of split-off tutorials, stuff like that. Until next time, I've been Zool. Have an excellent day.